What's going on, friends? Welcome back to this channel, Football Therapy, with me, your host, Jan. How you doing, mate? Are you okay? I hope you're doing well. I really do hope that. Welcome back to Chelsea News, of course, the daily series here on the channel, where I reflect on what's been said about Chelsea, giving you my thoughts about it, my opinions, whatever that's worth, more importantly, asking for yours. Today, we're talking about attackers. Chelsea went in hard for Rafael Leao of Milan, a very exciting, entertaining Portuguese winger, and perhaps something that Chelsea are going to revisit. We're going to talk about him a little bit, read an article from Corriere dello Sport, or reference that. Also talk about the future of our attack. What does Boehly and Potter see? Who's in, who's out? We'll go for a few of them and talk about that. Also, goalkeepers. Edouard Mendy is yet to extend with Chelsea and has rejected an initial offer. We've got Kepa Arrizabalaga, who may seem more appropriate for Potter ball in terms of profile, but also we're expecting Gaga Slonina to return, or to join up with Chelsea in the winter when the MLS season finishes, and he's kind of kicking ass, man, the youngster. So what about him? Settle in, get comfortable. I extend my sweet thanks to all you man and women out there who are liking the video and showing your support by clicking like. Thank you for liking the video. I like you for doing it. And of course, you are all welcome to subscribe to this channel, Football Therapy. And should you choose to do so, hit that sweet, sweet bell, baby. Alright, mate, let's get into it. You know what, before we talk about attackers, let's talk about goalkeepers. That's right, the news that's been reported all over the gaff is Edouard Mendy is still negotiating a contract renewal with Chelsea Football Club. Of course, the recent African champion and European champion a year ago is now in his 30s, has a wonderful story. Only 6 or 7 years ago he was in the job centre and he rose up to stardom in Liga and of course at Chelsea. A wonderful story, though his contract renewal offer or extension from Chelsea Football Club still would have him on less money than Kepa Arrizabalaga's current contract, which of course is the contract we gave him when we bought him from Bilbao for £71 million. Of course, that was his buyout clause. Now, I guess it's a little bit insulting if he's still recognised as the first team goalkeeper, but gets paid less than the second team goalkeeper or the reserve goalkeeper, especially considering, he was great in the Champions League run, etc. He's just won the AFCON. He's probably like, mate, come on, I get it, but Chelsea are probably in a position right now where they're trying to think, is either of these guys the answer? Edouard Mendy, of course, a really good shot stopper. He is really confident in terms of commanding his box and claiming crosses, which we've spoken about on the channel before, is a major weakness of Kepa. Kepa doesn't claim crosses, Edouard Mendy does. Kepa's relatively short, Mendy's got a huge wingspan. But Edouard Mendy sometimes flaps of late and he's not doing as good as he was in terms of making saves. And Edouard Mendy is certainly not very good with his feet, whereas Kepa Arrizabalaga is generally a good footballing goalkeeper. Lest we forget, that's why we signed him in the first place. Granted, for way too much money, but we knew we were appointing Maurizio Sarri, and we needed a ball-playing goalkeeper for Sarri ball. We knew Real Madrid were looking at Kepa. We knew he was a high-profile, well-scouted European young goalkeeper that plays well with his feet. The rest is history. And indeed, that first season, Kepa was pretty good under Sarri, until he decided to not come off the pitch at Wembley. But anyway, I digress. What's going to happen next? Because there is speculation that Chelsea might actually be looking at a new goalkeeper. I think for the moment, Graham Potter, and this is something I've spoken about in previous videos, I did a winners and losers video when I spoke about which players could thrive under the new management, Graham Potter, and I said Kepa because of the examples of what happened at Brighton when he brought in Sanchez over Ryan because he plays better with his feet. I thought, oh, maybe Kepa will come out of the cold because he plays better with his feet than Mendy. Kind of makes sense, right? But I do also want to give a shout out for Gaga Slonina. Of course, he's killing it out in the MLS for Chicago Fire. This dude's a giant. He's still only 18 years old. It makes me think of Gianluigi Donnarumma vibes. He's 18 and he's third in the MLS for clean sheets. Despite being a teenager, he's making some monster saves. Granted, it's the MLS, but in terms of someone kicking a ball hard towards a goal and the goalkeeper having to, dive into the corner to save it, that's going to be the same all across the world, mate. Very, very impressive indeed. Now, I'm not saying in January, Slonina is going to come to Chelsea and just be the first team goalkeeper. That is wild coming into European football. But I just think we should be thinking of him a little bit more, because who knows what's going to happen. Maybe we sell one of our goalkeepers and, he comes in and becomes the reserve goalkeeper. Probably what would be best for Gaga is he comes to Europe, trains with Chelsea, has conversations with us, and then goes on like a good European loan, maybe like in, will he want to even go on a European loan? That will probably be the best for his development, but I don't want to see him like just go on a championship loan necessarily. We'll have to see what happens. All I'm saying is, he's looking ruddy good at the moment, Gaga Slonina. Like many things with Chelsea, it's up in the air with a goalkeeper. Kepa's played the last 2 games, maybe he'll keep his spot. Well, Mendy's not signing an extension, and we've got that new kid in MLS making monster saves. What's going to happen? Of course, we've got Nathan Baxter as well, who has gone back to Hull. He's really highly rated, and we might still just buy someone new if that's what the plan dictates. The crazy new Bowley plan where we're just building loads of new teams. First team, second team, academy team. Who knows? Right, let's move on to the next part of the video and talk about attackers. Chelsea, of course, went in really hard in the summer for Leao of AC Milan, the exciting Portuguese winger attacker, very, very high octane and entertaining, tricky and creative. Now, this was new regime stuff as well. This wasn't like Chelsea going hard for Ousmane Dembele, who just didn't want to join Chelsea, who indeed is being linked with Chelsea again because he'll have a buyout clause. That dude just doesn't want to come to Chelsea. People need to accept that. I don't know what the case with Rafael Leao is, but Chelsea apparently made 3 approaches for the Portuguese winger, so showing incredibly potent interest under the new regime. I'm going to read something now from Sampa Milan, referencing Corriere dello Sport talking about Leao. Let's jump in. There continues to be a lot of speculation regarding the future of Rafael Leao, given his contract is less than 2 years from expiry, but Milan could reportedly make an exception to keep him. Corriere dello Sport reports this morning that Leao's deal with Milan will expire in 2024, and in recent weeks there's been question marks over the likelihood that he will extend with the Rossoneri. The parties involved are working hard to find a meeting point because Leao has always declared that he's happy at the club, who were patient in waiting for him to explode in the way that he did last season. It will not be easy in the next few months, but that will be crucial because Chelsea's interest has not gone away. So the London club could return with an official offer for at least 100 million euros, even though the valuation set by Paolo Maldini is his 150 million euro release clause. Well, look, man, if he does at that point only have 2 years left on his deal, wait, hold on, what season are we in now? He'll have 1 year left in his deal in the summer. They cannot demand his release clause of 150 million euros. If Chelsea come in with a stern offer, then they would absolutely have to accept it, because you don't want to lose such a super valuable asset on a free. That's just impossible for them. Look, man, many of you know Leao is very, very exciting. He, of course, won the Scudetto in Serie A last season with Fikayo Tomori and Giroud. He didn't post like insane numbers, but he was like a game changer in terms of his profile. He's one of those people that when he picks up the ball and he dribbles and runs down the flank, he's exciting, gets you off your seat. And to be honest, that's the exact kind of player Chelsea have missed for such a long time. Arguably since Eden Hazard. There were moments in Project Restart where Pulisic could do it, but I don't know if it was since his hamstring in the FA Cup final or whatever. He's just not looked the same Christian Pulisic. There are other attackers at Chelsea that could have it in their locker, but in terms of Leao, he's got that star quality. The question is, would he want to leave Milan? If Milan were just a top 4 club and whatever and didn't win that Scudetto, you'd think, oh, Chelsea, yeah, I fancy that. They won the Champions League recently. They'll pay me loads of money. Off I go. But the fact how Milan won the Scudetto and they're back in the Champions League and they're looking good and he's happy there and, feeling like an icon and he's playing good football, and Milan do have a lot of money in terms of their ownership, maybe that's enough to tempt him to stay. But generally in recent years past, I know Milan are a gigantic club, but in, recent years, if you had an opportunity to sign for Chelsea, leaving AC Milan, almost everyone would take that. So it's really, really interesting. I think Chelsea do want to buy new attackers, whether it's Rafael Leao or someone else targeted. Of course, we have a whole host of attackers on the roster at the moment. We know, or reports suggest, that Potter and Bowley really like Armando Broja, a young striker. So you think he's safe. Mason Mount's going to be safe, even though I think over time he'll become more of a midfielder like he should be. Everyone else though, I don't necessarily think there's a long-term future for Hakim Ziyech at Chelsea. Kai Havertz, though really talented, I will die on that hill. He's this unique player, Kai Havertz. You know, he's not necessarily safe long-term. If he doesn't fit the project, Chelsea may sell him eventually. They'll get good money for him. Whether they'll get the money back, I'm not so sure, but Kai Havertz's stock is still very, very high. Real Madrid wanted him, Bayern Munich wanted him. Yes, he hasn't had incredible numbers at Chelsea, but, you know, he's won the Champions League, he scored the winning goal in a final, he plays really well for Germany. Like, personally, I'd pretty desperate for Kai Havertz to work at Chelsea, and I'm hoping it does, but, you know, it's got to be for a team ethos now. What are we doing on the pitch? What's the idea from Graham Potter? And indeed, who suits that? Of course, we spoke yesterday about Callum Hudson-Odoi, how he's playing as like a number 10 for Bayer Leverkusen, and he's looking really good. Personally, like I said yesterday, I don't think we should recall him from his loan. I think we should just let him cook out there and do his thing, because he is looking good, and it's probably going to be best for his development. Though, from what Bowley told Callum Hudson-Odoi and how he spoke about, and from what we know about Graham Potter, he's probably safe in terms of the future project, because Potter wanted him at Brighton. Todd Bowley insisted there was no buyout clause in his loan to Leverkusen. So with that, you think, okay, so who's safe? Bruyer's safe. Hudson-Odoi is safe. You know, Mason Mount, again, I think he's more of a midfielder. Kai Havertz, possibly. But, you know, with Christian Pulisic, I'm not sure. You know, there was talks about Newcastle were desperate to sign him in the summer. I think Pulisic might eventually go because he'll want to be a starter somewhere. And, you know, the profile of his, you know, what he represents in the national USA team, he can't be a rotational player, I don't think. So he just needs to go and play football at a decent level. And maybe that won't be at Chelsea. I mean, he's publishing autobiographies where he's like slagging off Thomas Tuchel. It's not a good look for a youngster, if you ask me. But who knows, it might work. You know, he is explosive. Potter might find a way to work for Christian Pulisic, but I think he's at risk like Hakim Ziyech. So what do we do? Where do we go from here? We buy probably one really high profile attacker like a Rafael Leao or someone else. You know, I haven't talked about our two senior strikers in Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who of course has got the two recent starts since he was signed at Chelsea in the Champions League both times. He hasn't looked good, but this dude's been, you know, he's had his jaw broken after an attack. He is a good finisher though, so, you know, there's a chance about Aubameyang. And of course, does anyone think there's a chance for Lukaku? He's not going to get recalled in January because it would just achieve nothing. But will there be a conversation between Graham Potter and Todd Bowley in the summer? Like, are we just going to loan this guy straight back to Inter? We recognise who he is and all the goals he scored. Is there a way who he can talk to Graham Potter and go, do you want to try again at Chelsea? Say if Inter don't do well this season or something like that. I mean, I'm speculating here. There could be a very small chance. I'm not saying I want it. I feel like he's disrespected the club, but anything can happen in the world of football, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think, though? Talk to me. Goalkeepers, Mendy, Kepa, Slonina. Comment down in the comment section below. English. And also talk to me about attackers. Rafael Leao. Who do you think will stay at Chelsea? Who's going to make it? You know, I'm really keen to get your opinion on that as well. I've been enjoying the comments of late. So thank you for sharing your opinions down there. And thank you for liking the video and subscribing, mate. Keep it locked to Football Therapy. And I look forward to seeing you very, very soon. Peace.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy talk. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought. Body bag the verse, outlined in chalk. In my life seen trouble, hustle on the double. Silence on the trigger like my pick got a muzzle. Yo, chick like to guzzle, bad boy stay in trouble. I only love this paper, sorry I don't. I laugh me, baby.